Hi, I'm Diane Flynn, and I'm here today with 2020 Beinecke Scholar Parker Rose. Parker, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Diane. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on here. I am a senior philosophy major at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. My research interests most recently have been focused on examining social and public policies that are aimed at achieving gender equality and gender egalitarian goals in society. So, for example, my most recent project was on a paid parental leave policy that originated in Norway called daddy quotas. And basically, what that is, it's a form of paid parental leave policy that sets aside a certain amount of time for fathers to take leave. And this is a policy that several political philosophers have taken up and said this is a good example of a gender egalitarian sort of policy. And in my most recent paper, I critique this and show how this, seemingly straightforwardly, gender egalitarian or, gender equality promoting policy actually has some pretty sort of unexpected consequences or is very limited in its potential. And this sort of really detailed project came from this intense interest in the ways in which we can use philosophical theory and philosophical understanding in order to get a better understanding of practice and how we can achieve our ideal goals for society. And in this project, I was actually inspired by the work of a particular political philosopher, Dr. Gina Schouten at Harvard University. And I was actually able to speak with her earlier in the spring about this project. So it's been a great, sort of way to end out my undergraduate research experience.
Fantastic. And this is part of your thesis studies?
So actually, this has been an ongoing project that I've done several fellowships with. Mm-hmm. So I was recently awarded this past summer, actually, a presidential summer fellowship by my university. So I've spent most of my time using fellowships and other grants to complete this research. But going into my capstone, I'd like to continue to explore the themes of this research. So like the relationship between theory and practice, how gender can inform our understanding of how the law works, and how policy should function. So my capstone projects are going to focus on those themes. And that's basically part of my own personal philosophy of aiming to be a very well-rounded scholar, is like not just focusing on the same topic forever and ever, but attempting to develop it and expand it to other questions that I may be less familiar with.
Okay, thank you. Now, one of the things you didn't mention in your introduction is that you are the first ever Beinecke Scholar from your school. Can you talk a little bit about the things you've been doing as an undergraduate, aside from this fantastic research, that made you a really strong candidate for the Beinecke Scholarship?
Yeah, Diane. So you're right. A lot of the things I just mentioned are sort of, exactly those kinds of things. It's just, the way I see it, anyone can be a philosophy major, take a couple philosophy classes, but it takes, initiative or, wanting to be, see yourself as a scholar or a budding scholar to see and seek out other opportunities to establish yourself as such. So, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm taking myself too seriously. I was just really excited about philosophy from the very beginning. And when I started watching my professors teach, I was like, I know this is what I want to do. And I talked to my professors and I said, how do I get to where you are? Like, how do I, sort of establish myself, in this world? And part of that has been, seeking out these extra research opportunities to do, and speak with philosophers at different universities, such as Gina Schouten. Part of it has been creating a scholarly community. I think that's something that gets lost in a lot of, scholarly development, is the importance of community and listening to other people, talking, with people who are not in your discipline. So one example of my attention to that is I sort of reestablished the philosophy club at my university. It had been dormant for a couple of semesters and there was no one really, paying attention to it or wanting to meet. So myself and a couple of other students really created an initiative and got it going again. And I was president, and I led discussions every week. And we welcomed people, we welcomed students from philosophy as well as, all the other majors that are represented at UAB, most of which are STEM. So it was really great to not only, encourage this community within the philosophy department, but encourage a scholarly community that was really meaningfully interdisciplinary. So I would say that that's something I've been up to in addition to research. I've also been really interested in engaging in, I really love the idea of scholarly community, so I'm going to talk about that more. I've really been trying to engage with the wider scholarly community. So I've been attending conferences, like in February before COVID happened and we were still able to go to things in person. I attended the Association for Practical and Professional Ethics conference and presented my research on the paid parental leave policy. And I've also attended several conferences at my university. And even though, I was, I stuck out, I was humanities among a bunch of STEM majors, it was still a very useful experience to be among a bunch of other people who, given we're interested in different kinds of research, but we're still interested in research. So overall, I would just say, I think I've really just been following my excitement in philosophy and my excitement in the idea of a scholarly community, and my activities just sort of followed from that, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And I love the idea of following your excitement. It's one of the things that does make applicants stand out for the Beinecke Scholarship, where you can actually see on the paper the passion that they have for their field without actually using the word passion for it. You can tell by the things that they do and how they write and how they engage with their field. So thank you for that. Just along those lines, do you have any other tips or hints for applicants to the Beinecke Scholarship or people who are thinking of applying?
I think, yeah, I mean, everything I've just said, I almost would want to sort of bundle it up as just really, I think you said it best. What Beinecke wants to see is that you're excited, and it's not, it's about just representing your genuine excitement for a topic or a research question, because chances are if you're applying for Beinecke, if you're aiming to do a research focused master's or PhD, you're already an exceptionally driven student. You already have in mind these things that excite you, that invigorate you, that you want to share with the world. And I think really just owning that is the best thing that you can do in the application, because Beinecke just wants to see you. You don't have to, change yourself or modify yourself, for an application. You are the application.
Thank you, Parker. That's great advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time today with us to share your background and your tips and advice. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wish you all the best as you pursue your PhD studies.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks, Parker.